Hello, I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and welcome to Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. Today we talk about children with a future balanced on what we could call fragile hopes. Every child deserves the opportunity to thrive, yet we have systemic biases and barriers that neglect innocent children. If we're to live up to our potential as a culture, some things need to change. We're honored to have Susan Work of Holy Family Ministries of Chicago with us to share her story and talk about children and the future, a journey that began when she was growing up in Waverly, Iowa. Susan, welcome to the show. Please tell us about yourself.
Well, thank you, Peter. It's a pleasure to join you today. My story, as you said, begins in Waverly, Iowa, and I think it's a pretty unique story for Iowa. This was in the late 60s, and for anybody who was familiar with Chicago in the late 60s, they probably heard of a place called Cabrini Green. Cabrini Green was a public housing community of 17,000 people and stacked up in high rises here. And of course, probably half of the residents were children. The schools that were serving Cabrini Green at that time were underperforming because they just had too many low-income kids and they had trouble attracting teachers, and Cabrini was viewed as dangerous. So my parents were asked by a pastor that they knew in Chicago whether they would accept a couple of, well, you could call them exchange students, except there wasn't really an exchange part of it. But we took in a couple of teenagers, high school students from Cabrini Green, and they came to live with us, essentially integrating the town of Waverly, Iowa, which didn't make everybody happy at that point. But these kids were amazingly brave. I mean, just the culture change was huge for them. And I have to say that my parents were brave too. And that our church embraced them, and really that whole experience set off everything else that happened to me throughout my life and career to date.
So now we jump ahead to what prompted you to end up in Chicago. How did you get there?
That was one of those godsidence things, you know, that was just a coincidence. My brother was the pastor of a mission church in Cabrini Green. He had been there as a college student to coach baseball, and then he went to seminary, and then they called him back to this church. So he was the white pastor in an all-black church. And I was living in Philadelphia and completing my dissertation at the time, but my husband got a job offer out here, and suddenly we were in Chicago, and I had two little ones, and you know, not enough to do, maybe just watch children all the days. So I started helping my brother with more of the organizational part of his ministry. In 1985, the parishioners decided that they would like to have a better school, a school that was steeped in values and that was more rigorous than what they were experiencing in the neighborhood schools. So I had been a teacher for like 2 years, maybe when I was younger. And we said, sure, we'll start a school. We had no idea what we were doing. But we started a school with good intentions and about 40 kids. And, you know, it was just a coincidence that I happened to be here to help him with that, because he had a very busy congregation, to say the least. There was a lot happening in public housing in Cabrini Green in the mid to late 80s. So that was the start of it, and everything just kind of kept growing, going over decades.
Yeah, and now tell us about the scope of the school you have before we talk about some of the problems that you've been working with to help build up your student population. It's really quite a sizable operation right now.
Well, it really is. It's about a $6 million nonprofit organization. We set up in the year 2000 an umbrella for not just the school, but for some other programs that we had started. So we have a state-funded preschool for 80 children that are high risk. We have that in our building, and we have wraparound programs because the kids' parents need to be at work, and they often have shift work, and it could be a single family home. So we have, and the kids essentially come to our building from 7 in the morning till 6 at night, year round. We have a big summer camp focused on cultural enrichment and academic enrichment. So it just kind of goes all year. We're serving I think about 600 kids right now. And
Well,
they're all financially supported by, the parents pay. Everybody pays. That's very important, that everybody pays what they can. They pay their fair share. But today we have to raise about $4 million a year just to provide financial aid.
Yeah, it's fascinating because children are so integral to the future. Anything that children don't have as a way to survive become a burden on society in the future. We need to care for them. That's been a really powerful element of what you guys have done.
Absolutely. It's more than just academics there. In fact, academics may be number two, because the first thing is raising people who understand, who are ambitious, having drive and ambition and self-confidence that you can be something. That's really number one. Someone told me decades ago that talent is evenly dispersed throughout all populations, but opportunity is not. And so we start with that, provide the opportunity, and then teach the kids that they can have it. They can take that opportunity and run with it.
That's fantastic. Well, we're going to take a short break. We come back, we're going to hear more from Susan Work. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this.
The black truck? Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzzed and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So yeah, I know, that's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
No.
Every second, 127 new devices connect to the internet. You can feel it happening. Our digital world expanding with every breath. We're entering a whole new era of connectivity, and MediaCom will be ready to power it with one of the nation's first 10G platforms. We'll be bringing you more speed, more capacity, more security, and the power to do more than you ever dreamed possible.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. We're talking about the idea that children are a barometer for our future and our culture, and what needs to be done to help all children thrive and reach their potential. Susan, you really are working with a critically challenged population, kids that really need help. And you've developed some unique partnerships in reaching out to these communities and building the bonds that have built the success of this school. Tell us about some of them.
We have. Well, I'll describe our student population first. So today on the west side of Chicago, we have a building that as I mentioned before, serves about 600 children. Those children happen to be all Black and about 80% low income. But I really think the problems that they face, the challenges that they face are universal to families that are either economically or culturally under-resourced. And, we've learned a lot living in that neighborhood on the west side of Chicago about human beings and about the potential that's there, not both the potential that can yet be realized by these children who have such giftedness. They're the same as kids everywhere. They have many gifts. But also we've learned about what happens when potential is not reached, because I've met some very sharp people who are probably gang members, really. But when you don't have the opportunity to develop those talents, strange things can happen. Life, the drive to survive is above everything. And I'll tell you one story, Peter, that just will kind of shatter people's stereotypes, I hope. So one year in our growing years, we had maybe 110 students at that point, and they were in this crummy building, a rental. And we were so proud that we'd gotten these two big TVs. That was when, big TVs for your classrooms was a cool thing. And then Christmas vacation happened. And we had a security system. You had to be buzzed in to get up there. But somehow over Christmas, both of our brand new big screen TVs were gone after Christmas. And we were so upset. We didn't have a lot of money. We were really suspicious of the maintenance man, and we were zeroing in on him. But then the doorbell rang. Somebody wanted to be buzzed up, and it was a young man, tall, kind of nice looking young guy. And we said, well, you know, what's your business here? And he said, I know who has your TVs. Well, we had to let him come up. So he came up. I wasn't there, by the way. The school secretary was there, and she had to deal with it. And he said, I know who's got your TVs. It was that new science teacher that you hired in the fall. And she's going, what? You know, he's a really nice, good science teacher. And he said, well, you know, he's been fooling around with the wrong people after school, and he owes them some money. He's been buying marijuana. He owes them some money. And he took your TVs to pay back his debt. So the secretary told my brother and me this story, and the gang guy had said, I am the head of the Vice Lords gang. And I say, you need to fire that guy. He's not good enough for the kids in your school. You guys are doing some amazing work, and he is not good enough for our kids. So she told my brother and me about this visit and what he had said, and my brother and I talked about it. Well, what are we going to do? You know, do we take the word of a known gang member who's head of the Vice Lords? Like, we're going to fire the guy? Well, we did. We fired the guy. We never had another thing stolen. So it was a lesson to me that it's a complicated world out there. That was a guy who was trying to do some good, even though maybe normally he's not doing so much good, but everybody likes to have an opportunity to do something that's meaningful and productive. And our job is to take those children and make sure that they're never in a position like that, where they're doing something that they shouldn't be doing, and then they just spend their lives desperate to find someplace to do something good.
We have a lot of people on this show that give testimonial. You know, they've been in prison, they've done bad things, they've turned their lives around, found faith in life, things that help motivate them. And universally, they all wish for kids to grow up without having to go through what they did. So even the worst elements of society want our children to prosper, be healthy, and not have to do the things they had to do to survive.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how much of our tuition payments are made in cash. People come in, the dads, you know, they think the dads are disappeared, but they're not disappeared. They're out there, and they come in and they pay in cash. And we just don't question that at all. And why cash? But they want their kids to have this faith-based education. They want a character-driven, rich education. They want something that's more challenging than they got, you know, in the neighborhood schools.
Well, these are all fantastic points. We're going to take another short break. We come back, we're going to talk more about some of the changes in the community and the growth in the years of the students that have gone through the program.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see y'all after the break.
Today, more than ever, you need fast, reliable internet. At MediaCom, we want you to know you can count on us. Our fiber-powered 100% gigabit technology network was built for the future. We have enormous capacity and power and 99.99% network reliability. So even though these are uncertain times, we're prepared. And you can be certain we'll keep your world connected.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here.
Wait. What?
I can't drive.
Why? My. Oh.
Every second, 127 new devices connect to the internet. You can feel it happening, our digital world expanding with every breath. We're entering a whole new era of connectivity, and MediaCom will be ready to power it With one of the nation's first 10G platforms, we'll be bringing you more speed, more capacity, more security, and the power to do more than you ever dreamed possible.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. We're talking about the limits of resilience, which for children is a potential that requires a caring and compassionate investment. Now, Susan, you've been in the community for years now, and you've really seen how that investment has grown and helped that community prosper.
I sure have, Peter. I can tell stories all day. So let me just pick out one. I want to tell you about one student that just really has set the tone for me since 1992. One of our earliest graduates, we'll call her Phoenicia, her mother grew up in Cabrini Green in public housing, and so did her grandma. But they enrolled her at Holy Family School, and Phoenicia never missed one day of school. From kindergarten through 8th grade, she was always there, and we talked about her all the time. It's like, what's with Phoenicia? We should maybe make her stay home because she has a runny nose. Nope, she came every single day, graduated as our little 8th grade valedictorian. Then she went on to a boarding school. She got a scholarship to Culver Academy in Indiana. After that, she came back to Chicago and went to Loyola University in Chicago. And then she became, now she's a senior financial analyst at, it used to be called Hospira. I can't remember what it's called now. Anyway, out here in the suburbs of Chicago, the north suburbs. And a few years ago, she and her husband bought a house in Northbrook, one of the North Shore suburbs of Chicago, and have a baby. And they're just doing so well that we invited her to be the first alumni to sit on our board of directors. And what I got from Phoenicia is, again, kids can grow up in the most challenging circumstances. Her mother had practically no education, nor did her grandma. But there is this thing that some kids have that is just resilient and perseverance, and they're just going to thrive. But you hit it, I think, in your introduction when you said they need one spark to ignite that in them. They need one caring person, or they need one opportunity, one special program, something, and then they will just take off on their own. We've had so many kids like that. Do we have time for one more story?
Oh, sure. Go ahead. No, these are great stories.
Okay. So this summer, I was driving back from a volunteer gig at our resale store, and I started listening to the public radio. They have these little feature stories, and I was caught up in this story. So when I got to my garage, I'm still listening to the story. I heard the end of the story, and she says, and this is Asia Singletary coming to you from WBEZ Chicago. And I went, can there be two Asia Singletaries? I don't think so. So I went in and I looked her up on Facebook and LinkedIn, and sure enough, it was one of our alumni who had just graduated from college and landed this reporting job, intern job, for the public radio station in Chicago. And I was blown away because she's another one of these kids that grew up with not much, certainly not much economically, but she was able to be, at Holy Family, we call them the go-getters. We start instilling that in them from day one. And she was able to take that message that you need to be a go-getter, you can be a go-getter, and you can have it all. And she is another one who obviously is really running with that.
Yeah, to provide a beacon of hope for children that may not realize the opportunities available to them is just so powerful. I would also guess that your parents are heavily engaged in their child's education.
Well, yes. I mean, what a sacrifice just to get them there, because it's not free. I think the average income of our parents is about $30,000 to $35,000 a year in there. It's very hard to live in Chicago on $35,000 a year. So you find multiple generations living together, pooling their money. That's where the kids are coming from. And yet we ask the average tuition payment for the year at our school is about $200 a month. So, you know, that's a considerable sacrifice, and grandma chips in and auntie chips in, and somehow they make it happen. But these are parents who get it. You know, these are parents who really want their kids to go far and to maybe have a better life than they had, and they're willing to sacrifice. We had one family that had, at the end of, in the spring, when spring came, this mother told us that they had gone all winter with no heat, but they paid their tuition.
That's just amazing. But it's also a testament to the good work you've done. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to ask you to come back and share some more comments, insights, and some inspiration with our viewers. A little bit of a distillation of some of the things you've learned over the years working with kids.
Okay.
See you all after the break. You don't want to miss this.
Every second, 127 new devices connect to the internet. You can feel it happening. Our digital world expanding with every breath. We're entering a whole new era of connectivity, and MediaCom will be ready to power it with one of the nation's first 10G platforms. We'll be bringing you more speed, more capacity, more security, and the power to do more than you ever dreamed possible. Today, more than ever, you need fast, reliable internet. At MediaCom, we want you to know you can count on us. Our fiber-powered 100% gigabit technology network was built for the future. We have enormous capacity and power, and 99.99% network reliability. So even though these are uncertain times, we're prepared, and you can be certain we'll keep your world connected.
Welcome back. Today on Surviving Bad, we're talking about the importance of children, education, and the need to ensure that all children have the opportunity to prosper. Let's see what insights and inspiration our guest, Susan Work from Holy Family Ministries, has to share with us, especially for this time of the year when we really look at reinventing our families and learning how to cope with what's coming up in the new year.
Yeah, maybe I'll just share some things that I've learned over 40 years and things that I have found inspiring. First of all, I'm always inspired by children. Children are universally the same. They're these adorable, loving little things. And it doesn't matter whether you're in Iowa or in a rural community or in an urban community or in Chicago's West Side, children are adorable and loving, and we need to love them all and give them all a chance. They have so much potential. So that's one thing. And you know, the other thing is the goodness of parents. Parents love their kids. All parents love their kids. I think there's a lot of stereotypes about parents in challenged communities, maybe that they're terrible parents or something. They're not. There's in every group, whether racial, ethnic, whatever, income group, there's good parents and there's bad parents. But I haven't noticed any big difference. There's the whole range of parenting everywhere. And I have learned that in the low-income community where I served, they have the same aspirations as the people out here where I actually live. They want the best, and they will actually study up and figure out what people in more affluent communities are doing, and they'll try to replicate that in some fashion, even though they don't have a lot of money, a very little money in some cases, but they have that same ambition for their children. And, you know, good parents work hard at it, no matter what community you're in, rural, urban, whatever ethnicity or racial group. They work hard at it. They spend time with their kids, and they sit around at night and make sure that they do their homework. And one of the beauties of our school is that if you have to pay a little tuition, and that child isn't measuring up, they're going to hear about it from mom. We're spending good money on you. Shape up. And that's a powerful tool. I think parents need to use that tool with their kids more than they do. Raise your expectations, demand more, ask more, expect more, and those children will more likely live up to it.
Now, why should parents and adults of means, not in poverty, think strongly about investing in programs like yours that help lift up children that are just lacking in basic opportunities to realize their potential?
Well, it's a small world, isn't it, Peter? It's a small world. And we all live on this globe together. We all live in this state together, in this country together, and the world is actually getting smaller all the time. So it pays for us to invest in others. Not only that, but it's joyful, right? We feel our best when we're doing the best. That's where we get happiness. And so, to me, that's the best reason to do anything. It's not just selfless, it's also for us. And therefore, we've covered humanity, right?
Now, have these children also, when in this school experience, and once they're out of school, have they bonded and built social networks and continued sort of spreading the good work and message that they were raised with?
We have an alumni group, and I'm sure other schools that are like ours also have an intentional effort to keep these kids together. They certainly understand the opportunity and the unique experience that they had. When you talk to these alumni and we ask them, what do you remember about going to Holy Family School? They go, I learned to be a go-getter. They almost all say that. I remember they wanted us to be go-getters, to be ambitious. And they want to pass that on. There's a burning desire in these kids to help the other people in their neighborhoods. Sometimes I see we want these kids to grow up and we want them to go to law school or something, but where their passion is, what they're burning to do is to help their community improve and to invest time, give kids the opportunity that they had.
What a phenomenal legacy and what great work and what a wonderful career you've had. I thank you for joining us today, and I thank you all for watching. Check out our website, ahealthyiowa.org, and keep your eye on MediaCom MC22 for our next episode of Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. On MediaCom MC22, your local programming leader.